Good evening. Welcome to the QCIS channel. We're on this channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And tonight, I want to talk about the construction manager at risk. Now, what is a CMAR for short? It's basically when a construction manager, he is the one that not only manages the project, but he's also the owner of the project as the project is being built. And the reason why I say that is because the construction manager at risk is really the person that communicates with the owner. Now, we'll share my screen and get a better definition for you. Well, the construction manager at risk is a project delivery method. And it's basically where the construction manager provides pre-construction services and then takes on the risk of delivering the project within a guaranteed maximum price. So basically, essentially, the CM acts as both the consultant during the design phase and the general contractor during the construction phase. This approach offers owners cost certainty and the potential for early collaboration, but also requires careful selection of a qualified construction manager due to the increased risk that is going to be bared. Now, again, I had summed it off as where the construction manager takes ownership of the project as he or she manages the project. Now, I want to get into a PowerPoint and we're going to break down the construction manager at risk, when and how. Now, when we talk about the construction manager at risk, again, we are looking at a project delivery method in which the construction manager acts as a consultant to the owner during a portion of the design phase, which that's known as the pre-construction phase. And that basically has integrated in the design phase or the pre-construction phase with scheduling, constructability, and then cost estimating. Then he or the contractor, which is the GC, the general contractor, will assume the risk for construction performance as the equivalent of a general contractor holding all trade subcontracts during the construction phase. Basically, the CM is the GC or the general contractor because the general contractor is in charge of all of the subcontractors. And also, in order to be a GC, general contractor must have a license to be a general contractor and be registered as a construction manager with SCLLR. Now, the advantages of the construction manager at risk are the contractor provides pre-construction services for a fixed fee and a guaranteed maximum price for the construction services. Contractor perspective and input during the design phase provides a familiar, or we say familiarity with the design features. Again, the contractor perspective and input during the design phase provides familiarity with the design features. Now, there's also the ability to fast track early components of construction prior to the completion of design. Also, the CMR. CMR is actually the construction manager at risk, provides a guaranteed maximum price that's known as GMP that is only exceeded due to owner changes. Now, with the advantages of a CMAR, there are also disadvantages. Now, the disadvantages are there's a two-step process to hire a CMR via an RFQ and an RFP. Now, what is an RFQ? An RFQ is a request for qualifications. And what's in that RFQ to see if a contractor is qualified to do certain work would be the history. And when you look at the history of a contractor, how many claims have been filed against that contractor for projects that they have bid on? Also, this contractor walk off the job, breach the contract. And then for cost, you have an RFP, which is request for proposal. Now, generally, you see requests for proposals when you have engineering consulting firms. Suppose they want to get construction inspection work. Well, they're actually going to send a proposal out to a potential client. It could be a DOT, it could be a city, or even a private entity. The RFP is just like a bid. Of course, you know the lowest bid is always going to get the work. Now, here's the thing. When you are looking to hire a CMR, the process could take 3 months or more. And you also have to understand that the qualifications-based selection of a CMR utilizes cost as a small portion of the criteria. Therefore, the selected CMR may not be the lowest cost. Now, the guaranteed maximum price will have assumptions for unfinished design, where you're going to have disagreements over assumptions. Now, issuing too costly early components may impact the overall GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price of a completed project. Now, failure to negotiate a guaranteed maximum price results in termination of the construction manager at risk, and it's going to proceed with a design bid build process. Now, contracting milestones. It's where the agency provides written determination letters to OSC that the CMR is the most advantageous. Now, of course, you have to see Chapter 3 of the manual. Now, just so you'll understand, this information is not mine, but if you want to know what manual to utilize, you're most likely talking about the AIA, which is the American Institute of Architects. So you also have procurement, which is also in accordance with Chapter 4 of the manual. Again, the manual is the AIA manual, the Scotia edition. Now, AE. Now, what does AE stand for? AE stand now you might also see AEC. Well, AEC stands for Architecture, Engineering, and Construction. AE is Architecture and Engineering. So when you have an architect and an engineer under a CMAR, they're going to design to the schematic phase. So under the schematic phase, you're going to have an established site. You're going to have functional or programming of spaces established. The building configuration is also confirmed. Then you're going to deal with life safety issues. And then finally, you're going to have a cost estimate to verify the budget. Procurement of CMAR is in accordance with Chapter 11 of the manual. Again, some of you might ask me what that manual is. The manual is, and it tells you right here, you're going to utilize the AIA, A133. The AIA is the American Institute for Architects manual, Scotia edition. Now, selection is by way of a two-step process, i.e. request for qualifications and request for proposals. Then what you're going to have is a selection committee for the RFQ, RFP process. So basically the OSC, and it could be the Office of Engineering, and they're going to appoint non-voting chairman. That's OSC PM. Now, what is a PM? The project manager. Now, the agency head then selects remainder of voting and non-voting committee members with committee occurrence. Technical advisors may be required. So under this, you're going to have a confidentiality and a conflict of interest policy. Also, under the selection plan that's going to be created by the agency project manager, approved by the agency head, committee, and chairman. So basically, at the minimum, the plan should describe the property and or facility to be acquired. It's also going to explain the solicitation and evaluation of qualifications and proposals by the community. Again, it's going to explain the solicitation and evaluation of qualifications and proposals by the committee. And also, you're going to list the RFQ and RFP evaluation factors in their relative importance. So you're going to use the weighting factors. And then you're going to identify the chair and the members of the committee. You're also going to establish milestone dates for completion of the selected process. And the plan should never be shared with offerers for the CMAR. Now we get into what I have explained to you what the RFQ is. The RFQ is the request for qualifications. So basically, it's a pre-qualification process. The RFQ is going to be prepared by the agency project manager with the assistance of the committee. And what's in the RFQ? It's going to describe the general scope of work. And it's going to instruct prospective offerers how statements of qualifications are to be organized and then submitted. And it's going to inform the prospective offerers of the evaluation factors and their relative importance. So basically, at a minimum, factors are based on, I just mentioned earlier during this presentation, you're going to look at past performance. You're going to look at the description of the CMAR approach to project management. Then you have to look at the financial stability and the bonding capacity. And then you're going to have to look at the related CMAR experience on projects of similar size and scope. Also, there's going to be the invitation for CM risk services advertised by the SCBO. And under the SCBO, it's going to provide a brief description of project and budget. And it's going to inform offerers where the RFQ document may be obtained. And it's also within that, you're going to have a pre-qualification conference, yes, no, or location. And then there's going to be a submittal due date, location, and number of copies. And then once all that is taken care of, then you're going to have a review of the SOQ. The SOQ is the statement of qualifications by the committee, and that produces a listing of most qualified to least qualified. And then the agency is going to solicit proposals from at least the 3 most qualified firms. Now, you also have a request for proposal, and that's also going to be prepared by the agency PM with the assistance of the committee. And it's under the CMAR for the RFP, it may include schematic documents from the AE, that's architecture and engineering. And with the RFP, it's going to instruct the pre-qualified firms. The RFP, which is the request for proposal, is going to instruct the pre-qualified firms to how the proposals that they're going to be writing with their proposed fee for pre-construction and construction management fee. It's going to tell you where it's going to be. It's going to be in a separate envelope. It's also going to tell you how the proposals are to be organized and submitted. Again, I'm going back to something I just mentioned before. I talked about how the proposals are going to be organized and submitted. So coming back, this is very important because if you don't follow the process, you may be out of the running for the bid of the contract. So basically, it's under the RFP, the qualified firms are to submit their proposed fee for pre-construction and construction management fee in a separate sealed envelope. So that means the fees are going to be, you're going to have two envelopes. And also, the factors to be used to evaluate proposals. So at a minimum, the evaluation factors are qualifications of proposed CMR staff, the ability to perform the requirements of the contract. Then you have to look at going back to history. And history is going to be on time, on budget, and on schedule for CMAR projects. And you're also going to list your related CMAR experience on projects of similar size and complexity. Then you're going to list proposed CMAR pre-construction and construction management fees. And then other factors are going to be required by the committee. So this, when it comes to a government job, there is a lot of paperwork involved. So also, under the RFP, which is the request for proposal, pre-proposal conference for the pre-qualified firms may be held to clarify the RFP. And the purpose of the conference is not to modify or qualify the terms of the solicitation. And the agency project manager and chairman conduct the conference. And the selection committee should not be in attendance. And then when you go to any type of meeting in construction, the meeting minutes of the conference are taken. That's to document what is said in the meeting, and then all the meeting minutes are sent out as well. Now, under the receipt of proposals, the agency timestamps proposals as received, including modifications, and secures until the due date. Proposals are open publicly by the agency, PM, and a witness. However, the proposals are not open to public inspection. Also, the contents of the proposals and the identity of the offerers, they're not disclosed either. So if the members of the public are in the opening, the proposals are open and verified in silence. Now, also with the CMAR process, then you're going to have interviews and ranking proposals. So under interviews and ranking proposals, committee members should review the proposals in comparison with the evaluation criteria prior to the interview. So at the close of the interviews, the committee members will score the evaluation on the SE 415 with the exception of the cost proposal criteria. Then the agency PM, which is the agency project manager, they're going to open a sealed envelope and they're going to read aloud the pre-construction fee and construction management fee for each offerer. And then after that, the committee members complete the scoring for cost proposal by totaling their scores. They're going to break any ties and they're going to submit the SC 415 to the chair. Then, once the chair compiles all the scores on the SC 415s on the CMAR, selection committee summary, which is the SC 417, that's used to establish the top rank form. And once that happens, there's going to be a consensus of committee. Then you're going to have the selection committee report and recommendation. So basically, under that, the agency PM prepares report to include all data and scoring sheets used to support the committee's recommendation to negotiate and award. And then the report is delivered to the agency head for the review and, of course, written approval. Now, if you're going on a city job, this is going to have to go in front of a board as well. Now, then you have the CMAR negotiations. Again, we're going to open up the AIA A133 SCOS edition, and that's the agency that's going to negotiate with the CMAR. And under the negotiation, there's going to be the pre-construction fee. And under the pre-construction fee, that's participating in design progress and design review meetings. That's also the review of construction documents. Then you're going to have cost estimating, which in the cost estimation, it's going to be possible savings, labor and materials, and equipment should also be included in there as well. And then you're going to have the construction management fee. And that's going to be expressed as a percentage of the guaranteed maximum price, which is the GMP. Now, you have to understand the percentage of the GMP does not include the general conditions. And also, if you have an unsuccessful negotiation with the highest bid, then the offer allows the agency to negotiate with the second highest ranked firm bidding for the contract. Then you have the notice of intent to award. That's basically the discussion award is by agency head or governing body following successful negotiations. It's also with concurrence by OSC by signing the request of concurrence and posting notice of intent to award CMAR contract SC 460. Now, the agency must post the notice of intent to award, and then there's a 10-day protest period. Now, during the pre-construction phase, which is during the remaining of the design phase, the CMAR, they're going to review the design documents. They're going to perform constructability reviews and availability of labor and materials, and equipment should be included in there as well. Again, under the pre-construction phase, CMAR, after reviewing design documents, they're going to perform constructability reviews and availability of equipment, labor, and materials. They're going to identify project sequencing and early construction packaging for phase construction. They're also going to evaluate systems and they're going to make cost-effective recommendations. Again, they're going to evaluate systems and make cost-effective recommendations. That's recommendations, not recommendation. And then they're going to evaluate budget and they're going to make their suggestions and they're going to require updates to schedule and cost estimates. And also, they're going to see who is their subcontractors. So in other words, they're going to consult with subcontractors. Now, the guaranteed maximum prices at a time agreed by the agency and CMAR and GMP is submitted to the agency. So under the GMP, that's going to include the cost of work. And under the cost of work, you're going to have direct costs for labor and materials, and that includes subcontractors, overhead, and profit. Then there's going to be the construction management fee. Then you're going to have the CMAR general conditions. And that's going to be the cost with establishing and manning a project office. Then there's going to be the CMAR contingency. That is the amount of contingency that will reflect to the amount of risk the CNR is willing to accept and the condition of the design documents. And then it's going to be available to contractor to cover increased costs beyond its control. Example, alleviate costs for defective and non-conforming work, which increases in subcontracts, acceleration costs. And then any unused contingency is returned to the agency at project completion. And also, must understand the cost of performance and labor and material bonds and insurance is also going to be included. Again, construction is a very risky business. Now, under the GMP, the successfully negotiation and the GMP results in submitting to USC. So under the guaranteed maximum price, there's going to be someone that's going to be successful in negotiation a guaranteed maximum price. And you have to send the results into the OSC. Then there's going to be a request for authority to execute Exhibit A to CMAR contract, Exhibit A to the AIA 133 Scotia edition, and then change order to CMAR contract. Again, unsuccessfully negotiating a GMB contract results in the agency terminating this CMAR contract, and they're going to go ahead and proceed with the design bid build process. And then construction. Construction of the facility is similar to the process established in Chapter 7 of the AIA manual. Under construction is what you're going to have: change orders, change directives, claims and disputes, payments to the contractor, substantial completion, certificate of occupancy, final completion, and a 1-year corrective work period, which, in other words, it's a warranty period. Now, to summarize everything, construction via the CMAR process, because we are going to look at everything in scope here. This is the CMAR, the construction manager at risk. So basically, we sum everything up. Construction by the CMAR process has been used successfully in SC agency. SC, that's South Carolina agency. SC is South Carolina. So basically, all the forms, they're most likely looking at the state of South Carolina. And with that, the CMAR process is time consuming for the agency PM and committee members. The CMAR may not be the lowest initial cost method, and most agencies do feel they receive a better product than the design bid build. And why do they believe they receive a better product? Because the relationship between the owner, architect, engineer, and CMAR during the final phase of design is through construction. And once again, when we talk about the CMAR, it's the construction manager at risk. And what that is, again, it's a project delivery method where the construction manager provides the construction services and then takes on the risk of delivering the project within a guaranteed maximum price. Essentially, the CM acts as both the consultant during the development or the design phase or the pre-construction phase, and then as a general contractor during construction. This approach basically offers owners cost certainty and the potential for early collaboration, but also requires careful selection of a qualified CM due to the increased risk that they bear. So basically, what I've gone through is another method of construction management. Of course, there are unit cost contracts, lump sum contracts. I know during the DOTs, most of those contracts are unit cost contracts. Also, you have design bid build, design build. I talked briefly about those other contracts, but I just wanted to give you some more information on what it is to be a construction manager at risk. And they call it a risk because you're basically, to the owner, you're acting as designer during a pre-design or during the design phase or the pre-construction phase, and you're the GC, the general contractor, during the construction phase. And that concludes this topic on the construction manager at risk. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some politics and some social content, check out my main channel, the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show channel. Now, generally, I had my videos a long time ago every Wednesday and Thursday. I went to Saturday and Sunday. Last 2 weeks, I've had everything Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to go back to Wednesday and Thursday, but for the most part, I will let you know what days I will come up, and I probably will come up next Tuesday and Wednesday, but so you'll know where to find me. My main channel for politics and social types of topics. It's the 401 Talk Zone Radio Show. You'll find me on YouTube, X formerly Twitter, Truth Social, and Rumble. And for the QCIS channel, you're going to find me right here on YouTube, X formerly Twitter, and of course, LinkedIn. And once again, thank you for viewing this content on the Construction Manager at Risk from the QCIS channel. On this channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening.